Hi, my name's Caspar and I'm going to be your chef for today. We're going to work together on a really delicious recipe, something that I often find myself making for my friends. So we're going to do a zesty cabbage slaw with a salmon fillet next to it and some also really tasty cherry tomatoes mixed through with a couple of forms of acidity in the form of some capers, some vinegar, some lemon juice, and we're also going to bring that together with a couple of great herbs in both of those little salads. So it's 2 salads with a salmon fillet. So salmon is easy, as long as you make sure you've got the right pan, something with a heavy base, and you're really seasoning both sides of that salmon. Don't be worried if it's not crispy the moment you flip it. We're waiting for a lot of that to dry off, and that's where we'll start to get the crispness that can come through there. I can't wait for you guys to try this. Why do I love making this for my friends? First of all, it's really easy. You're going to see me cook just the salmon. The Savoy cabbage right here is going to be raw. So we love Savoy cabbage at Fresh Fitness Food. Savoy cabbage is, at the heart of everything we do, you could probably say. Why do we love Savoy cabbage? Why do I like cooking for it for my friends? Firstly, it's really nutritious. It's both fibrous, plus it's got loads of other vitamins and minerals through it. It's a really, really great vegetable to eat. It's often in season. It's sourced from the UK the majority of the time. Due to the sort of sturdiness of the vegetable, it can hold up to some pretty cold temperatures and also some pretty high heat as well. This time of year round, it's going to be particularly delicious. It's a gorgeous little thing. Look at this. You can kind of start by ripping off some of those leaves as we just get straight into it. And you can really just see just how kind of pretty that vegetable is. It's also really affordable. And it also has a lot of volume and will hold up well due to the fibrous nature of it. So if I'm cooking for kind of 5 or 6 friends, and today I'm going to be doing 3 salmon fillets and enough salad for 3 people as well, and they're big salmon fillets. So because a lot of the vegetables I'm doing are really low calorie, salmon, in my eyes, with this dish makes it a really complete dish. Salmon can be quite a difficult ingredient to use if you're on a calorie deficit. It's really high in calories because it's high in fat. So although it's often viewed as a really healthy food, it's also really high in calories. So that's just something to consider when working with it. In this instance, it's great because I'm working with purely vegetables to go alongside it, and I'm going to have some both fats and then a lot of acidity in my salad. So again, on the Savoy cabbage, I like it because it's easy to prep. I don't need to cook it in this recipe, and I can buy loads of it and feed loads of people really easily for it. So let's get stuck in. I'm going to start by just taking off some of the leaves. Again, with all the recipes we're going to do on the Fresh Fitness Food app, you want to cook along in real time with me, or you can kind of skip through the bits if you know what to do and how to chop up a Savoy cabbage. My advice is to start by taking off some of the outer leaves, and I'm just going to bring that down into maybe kind of a couple of them here. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're not cooking in a Michelin star kitchen. We're just trying to make something delicious, tasty. It's going to look great on the plate. So I've cored the tough bits. I don't need to bother coring the other bits. Then I've kind of ripped those bits in half, and I'm going to start by, you could do this on a mandolin. I've even seen some people do it through a food processor, but I really like the hand sliced kind of, don't know what it is, but it doesn't sort of bruise the vegetables. I think you get a nice even bits. You don't get anything that kind of slips through. And again, like I'm standing kind of firmly, my feet are hip width apart. I'm wearing some Metcons, and my arm can just kind of slide back and forth right next to me there. So it's really easy. And I'm going as thin as I possibly can. I'm going as thin as I possibly can because this is going to be served raw. So I want the vinegars, the oils, and the sugars and salts to really break down this cabbage as much as possible before it's time to serve it, which is why I'm starting with the cabbage, because it's the most fibrous raw ingredient I'm using, and it's going to need some time to break down. And that's also while I'm slicing it as thinly as possible. So just as thin as you can. Sort of shaving bits of those cabbage off as you go. Nice. All of that just gets mixed together. And I'm going to make, 3 big portions today. So I'm not afraid of how much cabbage I'm rolling with here. Also because I love cabbage. I think it's freaking delicious. And I know our clients love it too. So I'm going to get loads of that in there. That's pretty much it. All I need for 3 portions there. Probably more than enough, but. So for 3 people, I've gone for about 3/4 of that entire cabbage, and it was a pretty small cabbage to go with as well, you know. I just got some little bits in here that I don't want poking out, so there we go. Okay, next thing that goes in there, I'm going to take, I would advise about 3 stalks of spring onions. My spring onions are really fat today. Look at those fat spring onions. Wow, they need some fresh fitness food deliveries. Okay, I don't know, I don't even know if I can make that joke. Okay, so spring onion is in, and again, just same width for everything. We got a kind of weird gloopy spring onion thing going on in there. All that is that's just what happens when you get moisture in the top of that spring onion, and then the kind of funny vegetable gloops that comes out, probably because this spring onion is just a mega beast spring onion. You want to cut spring onion with a sharp knife so that you don't bruise it and get kind of really acidic flavors come out of it too much. So spring onion goes in there. Boom, easy. Everything on this recipe is pretty quick. The salmon also, which I'm going to do last so that I've got lots of time to give love and attention to that salmon and I don't overcook it. Lemon juice, white wine vinegar, olive oil or a rapeseed oil, both will work. And that's it. And the parsley, which Kate is about to bring over. So this can just go in though. So for 3 people, I'm going to be using around about 3 big teaspoons of white wine vinegar. And we'll obviously taste and check for acidity. And I'm going to use a whole lemon as well. That one we'll use on another recipe. So again, just squeezing from the top down into there. And you notice I'm dressing this salad before I've even started cooking the salmon. And that's really on purpose because I want to give that cabbage time to break down. And then we're talking probably 4 teaspoons of your olive oil or your rapeseed oil into there. I'm going to use a coriander here because I get a really nice flavor that comes within that. And it's going to also bring out some of the other fun flavors. Kate, I think you've got the ginger over there as well. So I'm just going to pick that coriander down. We're looking good here. Cool. Great, great, great. Great. Great, great, great. And that is looking really nice. Okay, those stalks have tons of flavor. If you're doing like a curry or anything like that in the next couple of days, I'd always advise to keep that. Okay, so for chopping a herb like coriander, you want to try stack it up, but don't like roll it into a little thing. Like I don't know who's teaching people to roll the herbs into like a little funnel, but don't roll it into a funnel. Just kind of like stack it a bit, and then just roll your knife through it. Okay, just like sliding. See, look at all that like movement. It starts there at the top of the blade, and by the time I'm done, I'm about there. The slide action is the critical bit to this. You know, I have to roll it into a little thing. So just kind of sliding there through there. And then if I wanted to get that any finer or I was using a parsley, I just turn it on its side and I'll just kind of roll the knife through there one more time. But with coriander, I want to be careful not to bruise it. It's a really delicate herb, very similar to basil, which we're going to be using next. And we're just going to have a little clean up while we're here to make sure that everything stays nice. Hope you guys are all working clean at home as well. Okay. All right. So now with this ginger, what I'm going to do is this is the kind of surprise ingredient of this dish, but you'll remember the way I described it and in the title of this dish is that it's a really zesty salad. So I've taken off the skins on the bottom of my little ginger bit there. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect, you know. Now, I get this little guy, okay, and I'm just gonna grate that ginger down. You could use any kind of grater. This is a microplan, which is particularly good for kind of mashing and making sure I get rid of all of that fiber. You wanna use it on the finest grating you have possible. And I'm looking for about 1 thumb of ginger, maybe even a touch more, because I'm working with 3 people here. So I'd say 1 thumb for 2 people, and then I would say about 1.5 thumbs for 3 people. Or, in other words, a 1/2 thumb for 1 person. So that just goes into here. Boom. And that goes in there too. A little bit more to get us to that 1.5 thumbs. Boom. Okay. Now, trust me, this salad will have no kind of, it will not make you think Asian when you try it. What you're going to think is zesty, you know? This is a seriously zesty kind of salad. Really, really delicious. Really, really easy to bring together. Okay, and now, you know, depending on how close friends you are with everybody, pop some gloves on. And then basically just kind of bring this together. Start by like kind of just doing a little mix, depending on how big your bowl is. And you're just kind of combining all these ingredients and these herbs. And then once you think like the bulk of it is mixed through, I want you to squeeze it, right? And the reason you're doing that is you're literally kind of massaging and breaking down the fibers within that cabbage, and you're almost kind of pushing the vinegars and salts and, you know, yummy things in there, which has just reminded me that I've forgotten to add any salt. So we're going to get some of that salt in there now. Nice amount. We're going to get some pepper in there as well. And then we're going to go back to kind of having that go through. And pretty much immediately you'll start to see that, you know, some of those really rigid kind of slices have now really come together. So I'm just going to clap my hands. Right, we're back. Things are clean. Our salad is kind of marinating here. So that took about 15 minutes to make while I kind of waffled along. So I'm sure you can kind of knock that one out pretty quickly. Over here, we've got our beautiful cherry tomatoes. We've got our basil and some red onion and capers. I'm going to start with the tomatoes, and I'm going to cut these straight down the middle so I can really see in there. And then they give me like a really juicy, like kind of burst, almost like I'm eating some kind of sweet, you know? So, cherry tomatoes getting sliced through. And I'm going to go for a whole punnet of cherry tomatoes for this. So, fast forward. Now, we're on to our basil, and I'm just kind of going to start with some of those lower leaves that are already kind of sticking out and ready for me to pick. And then I'm just going to take whole bunches off here. I'm going to use a nice amount of basil because I love basil. So I'm going to use about 3-4 sprigs there of the basil. This is a particularly juicy basil. And again, I'm just going to like layer them on top. I don't need to like roll them up. Just want to layer them up. Basil is like a really sensitive little guy. So we want to be really gentle. And we really want to roll our knife through there. Just like this, so that we don't bruise him too much. And now, again, just turning it to the side, and just kind of rolling through there. And now, straight in. Loads of basil. We like basil. This little tomato salad is something you might want to put like some raw or roast or smoked garlic into as well. Can be really yummy. We're going to go with half a red onion. Just take that down the center there. Take off the end there. Take off the end there. We all know how to chop an onion. We're just going for a nice dice or a brunoise, as you may know it. So just peeling off that London. And really, again, like the way we think about a lot of the recipes at FFF is in components, because that allows us to weigh out different size components to make each of the meals bespoke. So we're sending out about 70,000 meals a month at the moment and growing. And each of those meals is made up of lots of different components. So 70,000 meals is actually, you know, more like probably 300,000 different recipes. So now I just taken that down that way. Doesn't need to be perfect. I'm not going to agonize over it. I just want a nice slice through there because I want nice little even bits to eat. You know, I don't want any kind of large chunk of red onion to jump out at me. And again, I'm just sliding the knife through so I don't bruise that red onion too much as I go. Okay. Easy. One little bits thing. Half a red onion in there. Okay. Now at this stage, I'm going to, finish off with my capers. Okay, I've gone for about a third of my little jar of capers. I would say you're looking for about 3 spoons of capers, and on these you want to run your knife through once or twice, nothing crazy, but you just want to open those little guys up so some of that kind of acidic caper juice can come out. That's it. Again, just because we like the flavor and we like the way that eats. Okay, olive oil into this, about 2 teaspoons through there. Again, with some white wine vinegar, just building off the acidity. That's 1 teaspoon into there. That's already in the capers. We don't need too much salt because we've already got lots of salty capers in there. And then a nice dose of pretty rough black pepper to bring out some aromatics within that. And then we're just going to kind of fold that through and break up that red onion with the back of either a spoon or a spatula or anything you want. And there we go. We've got lots of green coming through from that basil. And this here could be served with in the bowl or, you know, alongside it as another plate. I'm kind of done with my chopping board at this stage. I'll put that one back now. And now we're going to move to the salmon. So, salmon, high fat ingredient, high protein ingredient, can be difficult to control when on a low calorie diet, but is extremely delicious and has tons of amazing like fatty acids through there, as well as obviously like a really excellent source of protein. Definitely something we use a lot of at Fresh Fitness Food. I like to pair it with some kind of crunchy acidity and zesty kind of things is the way I love to eat salmon. So the way to cook a bit of salmon is to not stress about it. We're going to start with that pan on a medium to high heat. So it's not like crazy scorching hot like I might put a steak in to begin with. This is a medium high heat, but it's also not a low heat. This here, we've taken the skin off the salmon, but I still want to get a nice crunch when I do it. So in terms of cooking this for whether it's skin on or skin off, very, very similar. I'm going to use a rapeseed oil to cook this with because we get a nice cooking temperature from that. We also get a kind of nutty flavor that I like with that. We're going to really season up with salt on our salmon because I think that just goes really, really nicely. I'm not going to use any pepper on that. It doesn't really need it. All I'm looking for is to bring some more flavors of the sea out and to kind of help with the crispness. Crispness is kind of the absence of wetness, you know? So all we're doing is by cooking with fats and with salt, we're simply removing that moisture from either the cooking side down or the skin side down, depending on what you're using. And then we're going to kind of remove that water from it and really heat it and then have the oil come in and replace it. And then the proteins will have kind of dried out and started to crisp. So that is what is kind of happening in the background there. Bit of oil in the pan. Now the main thing is to just kind of chill out when you're cooking salmon. You don't want to move it around too much. We're really just going to go one side down, get the crispness, and then we're going to flip it to the other side, finish it for a matter of moments, and then serve it up straight away. So I'm going to get my plates out while this is in the pan. So to start with, I'm just going to turn these little guys over. In terms of which side to get crispy when the skin is off, still go for that skin side down. As you can see, like our chefs have taken that skin off and they've ensured that there's absolutely as much of the flesh left on there as possible, because we really don't want any wastage with a fish that is both expensive and obviously high quality, and you know, kind of something you really want to respect about both a vegetable and a fish that has taken a long time to grow and develop and then obviously be farmed and all the rest of it. So that goes softly down into the pan, skin side down. These are big chunky bits of salmon. Again, like size of the fish and everything like that shouldn't really be something that's too much of a factor. It's certainly not at Fresh Fitness Food. Our focus is on getting the right amount of food to the right people. So that means that, you know, maybe your partner might have a bigger bit, your partner might have a smaller bit. It's about understanding just how much you need. And you can use the Fresh Fitness Food app to help you calculate that. And you can also read some of our blog pieces on it. Or if you sign up to the service, you'll quickly start to learn about the exact quantities you need when working towards your goals and trying to eat in a really happy, positive way. Okay, so that's just really cooking away there. You don't need to get too much fat in the pan the first time when you do it, because already so much fat is coming out of that salmon. And I'm just not mucking around with it too much. It's in a non-stick pan, it's not gonna stick. All I wanna do is basically keep cooking it until I get a really rich, tasty thickness through the bottom of that salmon. And then I'll flip it for probably 30 to 60 seconds to just finish it off, and job's done. So salmon is easy, as long as you make sure you've got the right pan, something with a heavy base, you're not using too much oil, and you're really seasoning both sides of that salmon. So I'm gonna season the other side now it's down in the pan here. Cool. So like I said, this is just cooking away right now. You can kind of check on it a little bit. But we're good, you know? We're jammy. Some nice juicy bits of salmon in there, that's for sure. Okay, over here we are going to, I like to do this with my hands. So looking to really just prop that salad up as a generous amount of it onto one side of that bowl. Nice big juicy portions of this low calorie, high fiber salad. And then from this one, I have a nice spoon that I had before. And we're just going to take some of that into the other section of our bowl. There we go. So this kind of recipe, the reason it's really easy to make for a lot of people, and I often make it for my friends, is because, you know, really the only cooked component is that salmon. So this is something you could have had prepped and have earlier ready in the fridge. But it does make it really easy to plate up and then simply put that kind of love, attention, and focus into your salmon over here. Salmon's really coming along now. We're starting to get the crispness in the bottom of that. If you get a lot of juice and liquid come out of it like I'm starting to get here, what you can do is just kind of take a bit of it out. by taking it out, we're gonna help get that really crispy layer that we want. Okay, so what you can start to see, particularly on the smaller bit, is you can start to see the whiteness kind of creep up the side of that salmon, and we know that's getting to the place where we want it to be for it to be cooked. So now I'm gonna flip these bad boys. There's lots of different ways to flip it, but I'm just gonna try scoot under. Fingers on the top. There we go. Scooting under. Got a nice kind of crispy top once that dries out. So don't be worried if it's not crispy the moment you flip it. We're waiting for a lot of that to dry off, and that's where we'll start to get the crispness that can come through there. Nice. By really, when you skin a salmon and you take it that far off, and you're really only removing the skin and keeping a lot of that kind of grayer meat flesh that's in between the red flesh and the actual skin, that's the salmon's fat layer that's around there. So by keeping that, that's why you'll see that kind of slightly different color, not that super pink color across the top, but that's also where you get a lot of those really amazing healthy fats, so we want to keep them in there. And guys, that is literally it. So flip that over, we're at about 45 seconds now, heading towards being a minute. I am going to make sure that all of my plates are ready. Things are looking pretty. Things are looking lined up nicely. About 90 seconds here, salmon's turned off. I'm going to start by taking the small guy out of the pan. Bring that guy over here. And this big fella. So remember, bespoke nutrition is, a lot of it is about portion sizes, you know? And then a lot of it is about also identifying what kind of other needs you've got and what is the makeup of those portion sizes. And just for the picture, I'm going to use the bottom one of this. Keep the crispy bit down the bottom. Okay, cool. Pan done, salmon dish done, and we have a gorgeous, juicy fat bit of salmon that's still pink in the middle, really nice and tender right through it. You just be able to push straight through it with a fork. Look, just push right through that, and look at that. We've got that really nice, tender pinkness of the salmon through, which just flakes away. You see, flaky, flaky. Another little flake. And that's really where you want that salmon to be. You don't want to overcook it any more than that. It should be, God, I can't wait for you guys to try this. Paired with this, you get the white wine vinegar, and then the ginger is so subtle you're not even sure that's what it is. And through this, really aromatic cherry tomatoes, but this salmon, don't mess with it. Take your time, cook it nicely, season it well, and then pair it with some nice seasonal acidic raw ingredients. Enjoy cooking, guys.